Alright, hello class, this is Mr. Miles coming at you with another podcast, and today we are going to be introduced to our lovely friends, the vertebrates. Now, the question we're going to answer today is what are the characteristics of chordates and vertebrates, and how do vertebrates control body temperature? Now, when you see the word chordates, it may seem a little bit confusing. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, this is Chapter 4, Lesson 4, on page 154. When you look at the word chordates, it can be a little bit confusing, but the thing you should understand is chordate is simply just a vertebrate. And the reason why we use this word is because if you're looking at taxonomy, and remember that acronym we talked about, the dumb kids playing chess on freeway get smacked, and that's domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Under domain, remember we have the prokaryotes, the eukaryotes, and the archaea. In kingdom, if we're looking under eukarya, because that's what we are, you're going to have the animals, plants, fungi, and protists. And then we're going to get to phylum if we're looking under animals. And we're going to get introduced to a phylum called phylum Chordata. And these are the animals that are going to have the backbone. And again, like I said, scientists hate you, so Chordata is the phylum for chordates, which means vertebrae. Now, chordates are going to have three special characteristics that make them chordates. We're going to see a nodal cord, we're going to see a nerve cord, and we're going to see throat pouches. And again, if you want to see the explanations on those, if you look on page 155, but I'll read them and we'll talk about them. So a nodal cord is a flexible rod that supports a chordate's back. So the name chordata comes from this structure's name. And so a nodal cord is going to be, in humans eventually that becomes not the spinal cord, but it's become the vertebrae that protects the spinal cord. Now the spinal cord is actually the nerve cord. And the nerve cord is something that runs down their back, and the nerve cord connects the brain to nerves in other parts of the body. So again, our spinal cord is doing that exact same thing. Now the next one is throat pouches. At some point in their lives, chordates have pouches in their throat area. In fishes and lancelets, like the one shown in figure 1, so again 155, you're looking at that, the grooves between these pouches become gills. In most other vertebrates, the pouches disappear before birth. So again, that's why we don't have these awkward looking throat pouches, or we don't have gills, because ours will disappear. Our nerve cord turns into our spinal cord, and our nodal cord turns into the vertebrae that protect the nerve cord. And again, the reason why you're going to have so much protection on the nerve cord is because it connects your brain to the rest of your body, and you don't want to damage that connection, so it's going to do as much protection as it possibly can. Okay. So when we're looking at what the nodal cord is going to become, we're going to be looking at something called the backbone. And the backbone is broken up into different parts, and each one of these little parts, these little segments, is called the vertebrae. And if you were to look at one of these, you would see something like this, or let's say, here's one of them, we're looking down at it, and it's going to be hollow in the middle, because this is where your spinal cord runs through. So let's make it 3D. Ooh, the power of awesome drawing. So your spinal cord would go through here, and again you get a lot of these. Now again, this can't be one solid piece, otherwise you wouldn't be able to move your back. It would just be a straight up and down rod, but this allows you to bend your back, give you some range of movement with it, and it's still going to be able to protect it. So again, that's called the vertebrae. Hold on a second, my chair's caught. There we go. Alright, so how do vertebrates control body temperature? And so there's major groups of vertebrae differ in how they're going to control their body temperature. One of them is their body temperature is going to be changing. Sorry, let me write it out. Body temperature is going to be changing with the environment. And one of them, they're going to be able to do it internally. Now the two different types, we're going to get the ectotherms, and we're going to see the endotherms. Now, we remember seeing this term endo before when we're talking about endo and exoskeleton, and if you remember, endo means inside. So, if we're looking at this prefix and it means inside, we can go ahead and guess that this prefix is probably going to be the opposite. And so this is going to mean outside. And therms is just going to be talking about the temperature and the control of that. So endo means they're controlling it from the inside, and ecto means they control it from the outside. So ectotherm, a good example of that would be a lizard. And you see how they sunbathe during the day, and that allows them to heat up their bodies, and they will do different things to keep the temperature. And then for endotherms, we have different ways of doing it, because sometimes we can get too hot, so we need to cool down. Especially in humans, we can do things like sweat. We also will sometimes do behavioral things. For endotherms, is we'll stay out of the heat, especially in the summertime. You try and stay out of direct sunlight, and you go into the shade. Ectotherms will do that same thing, but endotherms, we have different ways of using that to control our internal body temperature, whether it be behavioral or different things like sweat glands. Again, another thing for endotherms that you can use if you get too cold is you think about it, you start to shiver, and your body will use your muscles to try and heat you up. So there you go, you have ectotherms and endotherms. Now again, this could make you kind of angry, because the last time you remembered was something like this when we're talking about exo and endoskeletons. But ecto can also mean outside, just like exo can also mean outside. So that is your little introduction to the chordates and phylum Chordata. So again, remember, Chordata is under the phylum of the animals of the backbones. Chordata translates into chordates, and chordates simply means the vertebrae. The vertebrae are the little sections of bone that protect your spinal cord inside your body. And remember, these three special characteristics, that puts them all in this group. Okay, until next time, I will talk to you later.